everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Before we begin, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. Farewells are always hard, especially when they're from someone who has been a daily part of your life for decades. Kelly Ripa, the woman whose infectious laughter, quick wit, and boundless energy have guided us through countless mornings, left her audience in disbelief with a heartfelt departure that brought her to tears and left millions of viewers reeling. But beneath the surface of that sorrow was not merely an end. It was a tale of devotion, strength, and the bravery to start a new chapter. Stick around until the very end, because what Kelly shared in those poignant moments on live TV might just shape how you view the departures in your own life. For over 20 years, Kelly Ripa has been a fixture of morning television in America. From Live with Regis and Kelly to Live with Kelly and Ryan, and now with her husband Mark Consuelos, Kelly has been an unwavering presence for viewers who are now in their 60s. Her career has mirrored the stages of their own lives. She came into their homes as many were bringing up children, building careers, and navigating life. She remained through all the highs and lows of those years, offering a smile when it was needed most. So when Kelly appeared on live TV, clearly overwhelmed, her fans knew this was different. This wasn't just a show. This was raw. On the day of her emotional goodbye, the live set appeared as it always did. Bright lighting, familiar faces, and the easy flow of conversation. But Kelly's demeanor was not the same. There was a heaviness in her gaze, a falter in her speech. As she started talking, the studio audience went quiet. People at home moved closer to their televisions. Something in her voice signaled that this was not a scripted bit. This was not for entertainment. And then Kelly's voice trembled. Tears began to form. She uttered the words that would leave her fans speechless. "It's time for me to say goodbye." With most celebrities, goodbyes can feel impersonal, but with Kelly, it was like a close friend was leaving. Her greatest strength was always her authenticity. She wasn't simply a host. She was a person who could find humor in life's small frustrations, who shared stories about her family, and who let her fans see her genuine, unscripted self. This is why her farewell carried such immense weight. It was more than a television announcement. It was deeply personal. Fans were not just parting with a TV personality. They were parting with a piece of their daily routine. Kelly's emotions were unfiltered. As she attempted to thank her viewers, her voice wavered. She held her notes, then put them down, deciding to speak with pure honesty. She acknowledged how difficult the choice had been. She opened up about the fear of leaving, the ambiguity of the future, and the profound gratitude she held for everyone who had been with her on this journey. For her audience in their 60s, it was like looking in a mirror. Many of them understand what it's like to step away from a lifelong career, to leave the colleagues and schedules that once shaped their identity. Kelly's tears were not just her own, they resonated with anyone who has ever had to face such a goodbye. Kelly spoke lovingly of her husband, Mark, and their children. She shared that the draw of her family was more compelling than the allure of fame. Life had shown her, in ways too intimate to disregard, that the most important role she could ever have was not on a screen, but in her own home. For many viewers, this struck a powerful chord. In your 60s and beyond, family is the true north. It's the grandkids, the spouse, the children, the evening calls, and the family dinners that hold more value than any professional accolade. Kelly's goodbye was heart-wrenching, but it was also an affirmation of love, a vow to be completely there for the people who are most important. At one point, Kelly became still. She looked out at her audience and said something that sent shivers through everyone watching. "Time is so valuable, and I refuse to squander a single moment." That one statement hit harder than any pre-written farewell speech could, because, instinctively, we all know it is the truth. Time is the only thing we can never get back. Her words made fans pause and think about their own lives. How much of their time had been dedicated to work, to duties, to things that no longer felt important? And how much more of that time could they give to the people who truly mattered? Partings require immense bravery, especially when leaving something that has defined you for so long. Kelly confessed that fear nearly stopped her from making the change. The fear of what-ifs, the fear of losing her identity away from the cameras. the fear of letting down her fans. But then she shared a powerful realization. Sometimes, the most courageous act is to simply let go. That single idea became the core of her farewell, and it left fans with more than just sadness. It gave them permission. Permission to feel their own fears about change, permission to acknowledge the pull of family, and permission to consider that the greatest achievements in life aren't always the most public ones. As Kelly stood there, vulnerable and real, her husband, Mark Consuelos, her co-host and life partner, was a silent pillar of strength beside her. He didn't rush to console her with platitudes. Instead, his presence was a quiet testament to their shared decision. The look in his eyes communicated everything the audience felt: pride, sorrow, and an unwavering love that transcended the television studio. It was a partnership on full display, a visual representation of the very reason she was making this choice. The family she spoke of wasn't an abstract concept. It was right there, holding her steady as she said her public goodbye. In the hours and days that followed, the internet was flooded not with gossip or speculation, but with an outpouring of profound empathy. The response was a reflection of the unique bond Kelly had cultivated over the years. On social media, a retired nurse from Ohio wrote, "I cried with Kelly today. I left my 40-year career last year to be with my grandkids. I was so scared I would be losing a part of myself. Hearing her say, the bravest thing is to let go. It healed a part of me I didn't know was still hurting." Another comment from a man in his late 60s read, "My wife and I have been putting off our dream of traveling. We always said next year." Kelly's words about time being precious hit me like a ton of bricks. I booked the tickets this afternoon. Thank you, Kelly, for the wake-up call. These were not just messages to a distant star. They were conversations among a community that saw themselves in her story. Kelly's farewell had become a catalyst for personal reflection. She had held up a mirror to her audience, and in her tear-streaked face, they saw their own lives, their own choices, their own quiet longings. She had validated the silent whisper that many people, especially as they enter the later chapters of their lives, begin to hear. The whisper that urges them to slow down, to be present, to choose people over prestige. For decades, her job was to help people start their day with a laugh. But in her final, most impactful act, she gave them something far more lasting, a reason to reevaluate how they wanted to live the rest of them. This moment also redefined Kelly Ripa's legacy. She would always be remembered as a queen of morning television, a witty, sharp, and brilliantly funny host who could banter with anyone. She broke the mold of the passive female co-host, proving that a woman could be both personable and powerful, funny and in command. But her legacy was no longer just about her professional triumphs. It was now cemented in this act of profound personal courage. In an industry that often demands perpetual youth and relentless visibility, Kelly chose a different path. She chose to define her own success, not by ratings or longevity, but by the richness of her private life. Her departure sent a powerful message. It is possible to have a wildly successful career and still decide that it is not the entirety of your being. It is possible to love your work, to be grateful for it, and still choose to leave it for something you love more. This wasn't a retirement born of exhaustion or scandal. It was a conscious, deliberate pivot toward a different kind of joy. The crew, many of whom had worked with her for over a decade, felt this most acutely. After the cameras stopped rolling and the studio lights dimmed, the on-set farewells were even more emotional. These were the people who had seen her through pregnancies, watched her children grow up, and shared in the daily grind of live television.